Hey there, welcome to the Spark Show. In this episode, I'm talking to my friend and mindset mentor, Fernanda Lind, all the way from Barcelona. Fernanda, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Gwen. Hi, everyone. I am so honored and excited to be here today.
Awesome. So, Fernanda, like I said, I worked with her a lot on mindset and mindfulness, and I'd love for you to tell people exactly what you do.
Cool. I always kind of find like I when someone asks me that, I'm like, oh, I don't really know how to find the words to express what I do because I feel like it sometimes can sound like a woo-woo thing when we're talking about mindset or so fluff. But essentially, what I do, Gwen, is I help people like you, like high performers, high achiever, people who are in a high stakes environment. So I help you get out of your own way, essentially, just overcoming your mindset blocks, maybe your fears, your doubts, whatever you're getting in your own way. And I'm helping you overcome that and helping you operate from a higher level of consciousness. And by doing so, being able to expand what's possible, maybe achieving things that you never thought was possible. And crushing your goals and your dreams.
That's amazing. And a lot of my listeners, they have started to kind of go into the woo, but a lot of them don't really know about consciousness. They don't know about like the conscious versus the subconscious. So can you give a little background on that for the people listening right now and like they just like lost us for a second there?
I know. That's what I'm always with people. I'm going to start talking and it's like, and then I'm lost them right there. So sure. Let me kind of go back a little bit because you mentioned mindfulness in the beginning of our conversation, Gwen. And so mindfulness is an ancient Buddhist practice. And essentially what mindfulness is just the art of paying attention. And I know that can sound like, okay, so yeah, what? Like, why is that important to pay attention? To what pay attention also? And it really simply is just paying attention to your inner world, what's going on inside of your head, inside of your mind. And when we start doing that, we start also experiencing a lot more peace and clarity, and we start noticing exactly what it is that is getting in our way. And when you mentioned the having like higher consciousness or the subconscious, and I'm a total geek, I know Gwen you are too, like a total science nerd, and this is, I love to teach very science-based stuff, even though it's very tangible with the woo-woo. But essentially the brain evolved through history and from a very primitive part of our brain that it's called, also sometimes it's referred to as the reptilian brain, the lower part of our brains, that it is essentially 2 million year old part of our brain structure that is geared for survival. So that is usually what we refer to as the subconscious. And that is driving our patterns and our habits. Anything that we do by habitual nature that is very familiar, or anything that feels that we're driven to do, and we have a lot of those as human beings, is coming from that old reptilian part of the brain that drives us. But then we also have the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex, the more elegant and evolved part of our brains. And that is also where our authentic selves, our higher selves, is based. And that is also when we touch upon the spiritual, when we speak about our true selves, and when we refer to as the ego is essentially the lower brain or the subconscious. So those are the two parts of our psyche, the duality of the mind, which is the prefrontal cortex, and the brain. And what is so cool, Gwen, and Gwen knows all of this, you guys, as one of my students as well, and one of my start students, I would say too, the neuroplasticity, or how we change the structure of our brain, is really interesting and so cool, because that prefrontal cortex, that the mind, our own mind, has the ability to rewire or reshape the brain, that lower primitive part of our brain, that habitual pattern. And once we understand that, once we tap into that, once we understand and have awareness of that and know how to do that to change our neural patterns, we kind of become unstoppable. I mean, life changes immensely. We stop getting in our own way, as usually we speak to, when our lower brain is getting in our way constantly, flooding us maybe with fear, with self-doubt. And especially as an entrepreneur, as an influencer, and when the people that you speak to, people who are highly visible or wanting to be visible, wanting to collaborate with brands, wanting to be seen, and having that kind of exposure, if you're driven by that primitive habitual part of your brain, it's gonna really be a struggle. It's gonna be very, very hard to move forward. uh, so yeah, mindfulness comes down to that. When we step into that place where we are aware that we have a mind and a brain, that duality, and we start to understand where we're operating from and how to change from that lower place and stepping into higher level consciousness. And mindfulness and the practice done right, I want to say, there I don't know if there's a wrong or right way, but there's this camp of mindfulness that it's all about just fluffing along, being in the moment. Totally cool with that as well. But really, there is a way with mindfulness where you can use it very strategically and start operating from a more highly conscious place. So I don't know if that was the answer to the question, Gwen. Just geeking out on all this stuff.
No, definitely. Thank you for explaining that, because I do have a lot of people who are starting to be interested in conscious versus subconscious, mind versus brain. Like in our line of work, we're always, like you said, trying to be visible, but then there's something that keeps us saying like, oh, I don't want people to see me. So it's like, what is that thing that's saying like you want to do it, but you don't want to do it? And that's when people are stuck, right? When people are like, something is stopping me, or I have a block, and you don't really know what that is. And mindfulness, which is what Fernanda teaches, is a tool that'll help you figure out what that is and kind of rewire the brain so you're not always having that little voice that says, oh, but do you want to be seen? Like, what are they going to say about you? Like this voice, right? You know the voice.
Definitely. And that voice, that inner chatter can, and this is what neuroscience points towards, which is so fascinating, that it can hijack your prefrontal cortex, your mind, and still drive you to do behaviors that sabotage you, that actually can kill you. This is what any kind of like addiction struggles with, any addict, that you don't want to maybe do drugs. Maybe you have like kids or other things and that lower part of your brain is going to drive you to do that habitual behavior against your best intention. And even though it might not be that severe, but like you said, if you know that you want to actually be highly visible, and you need to be out there, and you need to have that exposure, and then constantly being held back against your will almost. And it can be very, very frustrating. It can be also detrimental to your business, to the success of your business, to the goals and the things that you need to achieve or do. And it holds you back massively. And in my opinion, and you know that as a mindset geek and a mindset nerd, having dialed in your mindset and understanding when you're being held back by your brain is obviously essential. It's everything, especially when it comes to running a business.
Yeah, so I worked with Fernanda. I was in one of her programs, and the reason why I joined was because I would have this, voice in my head, this chatter, and I felt like it was definitely holding me back, and I needed to figure out how to do it. And I do meditation already. I do a lot of the stuff, but I felt like there was more work to do. And that is kind of that is Fernanda's specialty, is the rewiring of the brain. And when people say that, it's like, how do you rewire your brain and how do you reprogram that? So what would you say to people who are, for example, right now are like, this is me, I need help? How does someone start rewiring their brain?
Wow, it's a deep question and a big question. And I really wish, Gwen, I could just give like a super quick or easy answer to this. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give it a shot, see if I can help. So there are kind of different components to this, because first of all, in order to change something, you have to be aware of it. And
Yes.
that can be the first piece where a lot of people can't change something that you don't know it's there. So it's kind of you're not going to see your own, what you can't see, like your blind spots. And this is why I'm obviously a huge advocate for coaching, on mentoring, having someone on the outside that can see your blind spots, that can see, listen, this is what you're not seeing, and helping you, first of all, bring that to your conscious awareness. So I want to invite everyone who is listening to this to maybe just start by paying attention. Again, mindfulness, paying attention, the art of paying attention, like kind of just stopping here and there and noticing. If you're flooded with fear, for example, the fear of being visible, the fear of doing something, the fear of putting yourself out there, the fear of reaching out, whatever that might be that you're struggling with, or even the imposter syndrome, like, who am I to do this, which is really common with high performers in any industry. I think especially maybe for entrepreneurs and influencers. And to just be aware, like pay attention, just stop and notice, like, what is going on in my mind right now? What am I thinking? What are the thoughts I'm having right now? And it can sound like such a tedious little activity, like paying attention to your thoughts, like, I don't have time for that. I have got to hustle. I need to work hard. I have to do, all the things that we need to do on social media and my podcast and this, and write a blog post. Like, I kid you not, just taking a second to notice what's going on up here in your mind and your state of mind and what kind of emotions you're having. That is the step one and the most important one. Number two is just to, and this is when it comes to shift to rewiring those things. So once you're aware of what it is that is coming up for you, and let's just do an example here. What if it is, who am I to do this? Like that kind of feeling like an imposter. If you notice that and say, okay, every time I put my attention on that thought, I am creating a way of being. I am being a kind of person who operates out of that thought, out of that belief. So if I'm constantly putting my attention on the thought, who am I to do this? Then of course, I might not approach someone that I know I might need to approach in order to make a connection, and that might help my business. I might not speak my truth or share what it is that I know I actually have and I can share with others. I might not maybe I'm not selling, and this is so important for entrepreneurs. I'm not selling with confidence, because who am I to be doing this? Who am I to offer these services? So once we are aware of the consequences of that thought, we rewire it by, I love to kind of reverse engineer this, and we can go and say, okay, what is the opposite of that? If I want to have a different outcome, I want to have the outcome that I'm actually putting myself out there with confidence. All right, so what would I need to think instead? Like just bringing that up, that question. Like, is there something else I could put my attention on right now that would be more helpful for me? So that little component, noticing what's going on that is driving and creating my behavior, and just being curious around what could it look like? What would be like the polar opposite of that? Being curious. And then there's one little thing also, Gwen, that I know you are really familiar with, and this is kind of deeper, higher level ninja stuff. But the moment we start being like an inner warrior, we bring up our inner weapons and we're like, all right, bring it. So we understand when the lower part of our brain comes up with all that crap, like, who are you to do this? Yada, yada, more crap, insecure thoughts coming up. When we can actually step into a deeper inner seat of consciousness, and we can observe that without giving it any attention. That is mindfulness. That is mastering mindfulness. When we just notice, oh, bunch of crap coming along. I don't need to give it any attention, actually. So getting to that place, when we speak to that, it can sound super easy. Like, yeah, whatever. And, why even bother with that? But that tedious and nagging little activity as paying attention and being very intentional with our own thinking creates exponential, amazing, crazy results. So I want to invite everyone into the world of mindfulness and stepping into a higher level of consciousness, and just see how you'll change everything for yourself.
That was a great explanation, because I have studied under Fernanda, and it really is it takes months to master, and not even months, like years, months to just get the beginning of it and to start actually noticing it and taking the time to do it, like you said. And a lot of people are saying, like, I'm too busy, I don't have time for this. But if you don't do the work now, it's going to keep bothering you. It's going to keep getting in your way. You're going to wonder why it's not working. And it's because you didn't do the work of this. And you talked about the being able to see things happening and notice without reaction. That is something I am still working on. And like you said, it's a practice. Mindfulness is a practice. It's not, there are going to be some times, even though you've done it really well once or twice or three times, that there is a thought or something's going to happen in your life, like something blows up, something happens, with your relationship, your family, whatever, and it does affect you. Right. And we can't help that. We're human. But Fernanda kind of teaches you how to detach from those feelings and those emotions. And really, if you think about it, that is what gets in the way. When we think of things like, who am I to do this? Like, oh, should I charge a brand? What if they say no? Those are like emotional responses, because I feel hurt if the brand says no, right? If I feel hurt if the brand says, oh no, that's too high, like we can't pay that. But instead, because I've worked with Fernanda, I've started to be like, oh, interesting. Okay, the brand's not willing to pay. I know there's someone else out there. Okay, bye. And then something else better comes along. And I'm like, if I had wasted 2 days like crying about it, not that emotions aren't valid, but it wasn't about me. And I think as you said, like the reptilian brain, the lower brain, it makes it about us all the time, right? We make it about us, and we're hurt about it, and that keeps us from doing the work that we're here to do. So definitely working with Fernanda has been a game changer. And as you can hear from what she says, she's a total nerd and geek, and I'm a total nerd and geek. And so if this is something that you have been noticing that's coming up in your life, then that is definitely where I would invite you to start thinking about how you can work on your mindfulness. And like you said, Fernanda, like one way to start working on that is coaching. And I Fernanda is one of my coaches, and I totally believe in coaching and mentoring, because a lot of the times we can't do this ourselves. Like we can't, and we shouldn't have to. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about why you think, people should get coaching and mentoring and invest in that.
Absolutely, Gwen. And so here's the thing, because you touched upon this a little bit, just like when you started talking, and the truth is we cannot outperform our own mindset. That it comes down to that. We can't. So any kind of level of success where you're at is just showing you your state of consciousness, your state of mind, where your beliefs, you're hitting that inner glass ceiling. And the truth is that first of all, we can just look towards this world, like the people who have gone really far in their careers, in sports, in music, like you name it. You look at people, what do they have in common? Most of them have mentors and coaches. And it is very humbling if we see that, because first of all, we don't have all the answers in that sense that there are a lot of things we need to figure out, and just having someone who has walked the path before us can turn around and say, hey, let me share with you all my mistakes, everything that I did wrong, everything when I got in my own way, what that meant and how that looked like, just showing you fast tracking your own journey, your own progress. To me, that is just priceless and invaluable. Just like, I don't have time. Who has, actually? I think especially for entrepreneurs, like, you don't have time to waste. Do you really want to try to get in your own way and figure it out forever and ever and ever, whatever that might be? Probably not. Like, other people have already made all the mistakes for you. So it's pretty cool to just like, hey, let me tap into your intellectual expertise, to your knowledge, to your wisdom, and let me just download that. That is invaluable. But here's the next thing that I think it is super, super cool about having a mentor, a mindset coach, or someone else who's just coaching you and mentoring you through a process. That person can actually look at you, call you out on your own BS. And that is so interesting to see, because we can think in a way, like, again, our lower brain, that part of the brain has all these beliefs and sets of ideas and can be very rigid, and life should be this way. And then we keep on getting into the same problems or bumping into the same crap with people. And we, at some point, we're like, man, I've been here before. Like, kind of like same thing repeating itself. And having someone from the outside who can see that, we cannot see that. That's why we keep repeating the same things and getting the same outcome. Having that, it is priceless. Having someone immediately see, here, this is where you're going wrong. This is the place where you're getting caught up in your own thoughts. And let me help you unpack and look at all, like you said, getting curious around it and say, interesting. Why am I taking this very personally? For example, I got rejected by a brand. Why is that like completely crushing me? And now I lost all my confidence. And that means that I'm not worthy. Who am I to do this? And then we get our, we're trying to figure it out. And maybe we even drag our lower brain to therapy. I know I'm guilty of that. A lot of people drag their lower, and it's like, hey, let's just talk about how our life has been really horrible up until now. And I'm not saying that therapy is bad. It has a very valuable place a lot of the times. But if we're looking for coaching, if you want to achieve something and having someone help you move towards that, it's very, very, very valuable. Having someone saying, hey, I'm seeing right now that these are your beliefs. This is what you believe to be true about yourself. This is how you see this human experience. This is how you understand what's going on right now and why you're feeling what you're feeling. And how about maybe that's not really what's going on? Like, what if we shift that and look at it from this point of view instead? Can you see this instead? And that's usually when we have those aha moments and those insights through those conversations, someone reflecting back. This is like giving you that mirror of truth. And the growth that we have through that, I mean, I know from the work that I have with my clients, with you, Gwen, just being able to help people through that, but of my own personal journey, having my mentors and my coaches and people looking at me and saying, hey, Fernanda, this is where you're getting in your own way. This is what's happening. And showing me where my belief systems are, what I am seeing right now about this human experience, what I'm making all my thinking mean about me, about the world. It is absolutely priceless having that support and that guidance. And at the end of the day, is that we cannot outperform our mindset. We can't. We're always doing the best that we can with the thinking we have in the moment. So that's kind of that's the ceiling we have. So if we want to get to a higher level, if we want to perform maybe from a different place more powerfully, we want to change something, have that transformation, we have to break through that inner glass ceiling. We have to access a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of mindset. And again, Gwen, and you know this as well, we can have the best strategy in the world, the best marketing strategy. We can have the coolest, most awesome funnels and weird stuff going on. And none of that is going to matter if you are not dialed in your mindset. If you don't have that kind of your beliefs, what's possible, what you believe about yourself, what you believe to be true about this world, if you don't have that aligned and in place, you're probably going to come back and repeat the same old stuck cycle. And it comes, obviously, it has the ripple effect, not only in business, but in your life, in relationships, all kinds of things. Just shows you this is your level of thinking.
That's awesome. I always love like hearing Fernanda talk, you guys. Like every time I talk to her, I always have, more golden nuggets and so much wisdom. And she has something special for you guys today that she was so generously willing to give you. You want to tell them about it?
For sure. Yeah. So I have a masterclass where I kind of like way deeper into all of this that we talked about today. And it's a free masterclass. It's 1 hour long. I try to geek out and dive deep into a lot of things to offer you a lot of value in this masterclass. And yeah, I'm more than happy to offer you that and get to it and see if it resonates with you, taking your mindfulness practice, more deeper insight into this, and just kind of opening up, shifting maybe a little bit about your beliefs around all of this. in a deeper way.
Amazing. So we'll go ahead and link to that free masterclass in the show notes, and I'll also send you all of Fernanda's information if you want to check her out and learn more about her. Thank you so much, Fernanda, for being with us and sharing all this amazing mindfulness stuff.
Absolutely, Gwen. Super, super excited to be here and geeking out with you and all of you here today. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So that is it for today's episode of The Spark Show. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.